to Soul Solutions. I'm Apostle Suzanne Howard, your coach and counselor. We are continuing our topic this week on guilt. How you doing? We've learned what guilt is. That guilt is a healthy emotion, but it can lie to us based on our thoughts on any issue. We've learned how to make up our mind and rid ourselves from unhealthy guilt, and to be brave and ask for forgiveness when we've caused intentional or unintentional harm in order to detox our souls. It's a lot. We did a lot this week. You're doing good. Today, let's talk about guilt that you didn't do enough to help someone out. Perhaps you had a friend who was very ill, or who is caring for an ill relative. Perhaps you didn't give the time you really wanted to, or perhaps death came before you were prepared. I hear this often. You've given hours of your free time to help, but you didn't do all that perhaps you could have. Or, let's say, someone you know suffered a tragic loss. You've offered days and weekends and weeks of free time. But again, you found that you could not keep up with what you've offered. Or maybe you give so much of your time and it seems that it's never enough or never appreciated, and you are exhausted trying to help and yet feeling like you aren't helping enough. The guilt now starts to get to you, and you try everything desperately to figure out ways to help them, even despite the toll it's taking on you. My professional peers, the psychologists, they use the term compassion fatigue to capture the feeling of this burnout. Though used typically describe professional helpers, it can also occur among people who offer continued informal support to others in need. Adding to this overall emotional drain of the situation is the guilt you overlay on top of the fatigue because you think you should be doing more. So you can decide whether or not you want to continue making the sacrifices needed to help these individuals. That choice is yours to make. However, as your coach, it's important for me to help you to separate your desire to help from the guilt you fear will overwhelm you if you don't help. Acting out of guilt can only drain you further and ultimately make you less of an effective helper, loved one, or friend even. So what do? You consider what you are able to give. You honestly give that, and you be supportive, and sometimes even reminding them of what you have been able to help with. Sometimes people forget. Sometimes people are so caught up in their own guilt that they're projecting their own guilt on you by manipulation, and they need you to feel bad that you're not giving more because they just don't know what else to do. You have to watch for projectors. We all are projectors in some areas of our lives, but when it comes to guilt, it's such a strong manipulation behind it that often the guilt is transferred, and when it's transferred from one person to another, it doesn't leave any soul empty. It leaves nothing but bodies. It leaves nothing but a bloodline of people who are guilt-ridden over a situation that in most situations they've had absolutely no control over. So you got to be honest with yourself, and then you got to be honest with your loved ones, and you got to let them know exactly what you're able to do, and to remind them that if there's more that I can do, I will. If there's something that you need and I can help you, I will. If I cannot, I will see if we can get it done. but this is all I can account for. Boundaries is such an important lesson that you will learn with any coach, life coach, career coach, personal development coach, counselors, therapists, psychiatrists. You will always hear about boundaries. It is such an important resource and tool that we should all have in our lives, but many do not have boundaries. So the expectations, they can go up and down on a graph. People can expect what they want from you whenever they want from you and then expect nothing from you. And you're wondering why you're not feeling effective in what your heart intended for you to do because you don't have boundaries. So be quick to listen and slow to volunteer. Let people know exactly what you can do. And then you keep your word on what you were able to do. Never overestimate. Always come in low so that there's always room for you to do more. Guilt is tricky. It can be used against us and it can be used for us. It can be used to let us know you're not being fair here and you can do better. You're selfish here and you really should give more. Or it will make you feel as though all that you've given and all that you've done is never enough. You cannot look for people to estimate on what you shall give. You have to know exactly what you're able to give and what you're not able to do. Do not carry anyone else's guilt. It's illegal and it's not yours to do it. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.